Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Daytona International Speedway. It's Apex Racing TV, broadcasting you live the SRA GTE Series. Marco Barbanera in the box with me, of course, is Wei Han, and behind the cameras is Scott Newton, as always. Hello, guys. Hello, Wei Han. So we are here. It's night. It's Daytona. There's gonna be fireworks after the race, and I think even during the race.
Hello Marco, hello everyone! Fantastic night here ahead of us as we come to live round 9 of this GTE series by Sim Racers Asia at Daytona International Speedway. Of course, this circuit needs no introduction at all. It is the home to the Daytona 500 as well as the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And it's also where we're going to have a fantastic race tonight, Marco.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool track temperature. We have only 19 degrees. 18 degrees. 65% humidity. There's a bit of wind, but all in all, it should be a nice night race with the usual Daytona stuff happening. So we're going to have a lot of slipstreaming and people having trouble getting away from each other because you just have the very quick infield section with 4 corners. 3 of them are very slow speed, and one is a extremely fast kink. And there are 4 very slow corners. The first one, then the second one, then you have a fast kink, other 2 slow corners, and you get back to the NASCAR Turn 2. You do all the oval up until the backstretch, just a bus stop, which gives you the opportunity to maybe go for a lunge. Then after that, it's a long run through NASCAR 3 and 4, back to the start finish line in the tri-oval, and then it's back to the infield section. So not a lot of corners, not a lot of corners where you can actually make a difference. So patience, strategy, and I tell you what, being a novel racer, a little bit of knowledge on oval racing can give you a nice advantage tonight in knowing how the slipstream works and how it's best to make your move.
Certainly, of course, this circuit, as you've described, is rather simple because it's only got 2 or 3 distinct sections, that being the infield as well as the bus stop chicane. But there are 2 corners that will make or break your lap time. Was one of the corners being the exit from the exit of the infield into the backstretch, and the other being the bus stop chicane. Through these 2 corners, you have to get your line perfect. You have to get your exit perfect, which will either make or break your lap time.
So it's round 9 of the championship. We only have this one. And Sebring left, and we bring you the championship standing with Jaiserin Jali. He's got 716 points. Leonardo Oliveira has got 606. Ahmad Nurazam 567. Mike Bordetti is 558. Peter Klawiter 532. Then Abirafti Putra is P6 with 500 points. Then Lachlan Crow 483, Simon Sanchez with 468, Brian Ramforth 466, Grant Crow 441. Now, Wei Han, we have 90 points available for a race win, and the distance between P1 and P2 is, at the moment, my math is terrible, but should be 110 points. So should this gap remain the same or just shrink by 9 points, we will have a champion at the end of the race.
Sounds good to me. Because, of course, the point system here in Sim Races Asia is that consistency would bring you more benefit than simply winning races outright, because you have to maintain a steady flow, a steady average of positions, if that makes sense. It's better to finish more races in high positions than to win just a couple of races and pray, hope for the best. And we also do see that the drivers who are up there in the top of the championship tables, those are the drivers who've consistently finished up wherever they are, in order to secure that position.
So it's going to be a dogfight until the end between Jali and Leonardo de Oliveira. Not forgetting that Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira is a clubman. It's a, like, and Jason Jali is a pro-am driver. So we have 2 different classes, and they are, of course, battling for the overall championship. And like I'm seeing, basically, Jali never went below 82 points is the lowest he totaled. That was the first round. Then he had 85, 90, 95, because you also have bonuses, of course, for a clean race. So you can get more than 90 points that are available for a race win. And he had 95 points as well in Le Mans. So he had a very clean race, 90 points for a race win plus 5 bonus points, I think, if you keep it below a certain number of incidents. So I think even though Oliveira is now, of course, in the provisional poll, Jali has a great chance of sealing the deal today and having a relaxed final weekend of the season just a few kilometers down the road in Sebring next Saturday. As we are getting closer and closer to the end of qualifying, with now Abirafti Putra on screen, we have a new entry in the championship for this penultimate round. You can see him just behind Putra is the red Ferrari of Sam Fitzpatrick, and I actually happen to know this guy because he's, of course, my colleague from many broadcasts, including the next one that we are going to have right after this one for the fan stream of the WCS race from Indianapolis on with the Apex Racing UK fan stream of the World Championship. So don't miss it. Sam will take a quick plane to Indianapolis to join us and commentate there. But before that, he has to, of course, drive, and he's now sitting in P7 right now, trying to get that slipstream from Jali. So, Wei Han, the classic question that I will give you in a second. because of course we want to know which car do you prefer on this track. I personally think that by what I've seen in the official series during the week, and of course commentating it on Wednesdays, that Ferraris have a clear advantage on the track, and then followed by the Porsches, and Ford is really struggling today. As Fitzpatrick goes on the start-finish line, and he does a 40.8, which promotes him to P6. So one position gain. Mike Burdett trying to get his final lap in, maybe, as also Paul Nelson is about to finish his lap. He still has to set a time. And it's a 40.1, I think. No, 42.5. So he's last. But he sets a time with the beautiful Coca-Cola Porsche. Leonardo Lopez Oliveira is coming out of the pits. I don't know if he will be able to not get the checker flag, as Mike Burdett on the start-finish line. 40.9. It's 0.08 of a second away from pole position. So he will have to settle for P2 at the most. Other drivers coming through is Alex Paul, P11, Lachlan Crowe, number 420, on board with him. Beautiful shots. This fantastic purple backlight, newly invented technique to keep the drivers focused and keep their night vision on. Lachlan Crowe on the start-finish line. He died in the pit lane, so it was did a little trick to us. Yeah. So the drivers are basically aborting their lap times, as we see Nelson going for it again. He set a his fastest time he was set in the previous lap, and of course it was good enough for last place, so he wants to improve. He doesn't dive into the pits. Down to the tri-oval, 279 kph on the start-finish line. And he gets 41.8, so it's one position better, and is P11 for the brightly colored Coca-Cola Porsche. I think we are waiting just for a couple of drivers to finish their laps, as the checker flag are waving, and have been waving for the past 2 minutes. So we are about ready to give you the starting grid, the official starting grid, in just a few seconds, live from Daytona, the beautiful night sky, the fantastic grandstands here in the world center of racing, as of course we get ready for the usual GTE action from the SRA, the 1 hour spectacular races we have been used to do all season long. I'm a bit sad we have only 2 weeks left in the season, because it has been a fantastic season and we've had some very good racing all the way through. Few seconds left to wait. And
So as the cars begin to take their grid, sorry, I cut you off a bit there, but I'm going to go through the starting grid tonight. Because starting from pole position is Mr. Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira, fastest driver tonight. He sits in pole with a lap time of 1 minute 40.183. And taking second place alongside him in the first row is Mike Burdett, of course, another fast driver in this series. He has a lap time of 1:40.388. Behind him, not too far behind, just I believe 0.005 of a second behind, is Jamal Gandour, refer to iRacing name there. Jamal Gandour, 1:40.393, and P4, because he's won a few races already this season. Jasri Jali, and his lap time is 1:40.519. Ahmad Orzam takes P5 with 1:40.554. Sam Fitzpatrick, our colleague here, who's graciously come on board to race tonight, 1:40.801. He takes P6. P7 goes to Lachlan Crowe, and P8 goes to Abhirafti Putra. Simon George Sanchez takes P9 and Brian Renfers take P10. Paul Nelson P11, Alex Pohl P12, and series organizer Kevin Huang, he takes P13 and he rounds up your grid of 13 tonight. Quite a small turnout as compared to what we would have expected, but it's going to be great racing here nonetheless.
So the difference between P1 and P4 is 10 points. So theoretically, the championship could still be open and heading into the final race of the season. But since points go all the way down to P30, I think that in that race it will be almost impossible for our championship leader Jolly to not score, even though we have to still take into account drop weeks, of course. So we will hold on to calling a champion tonight, and we will do the proper math next week, because you never know with drop weeks, etc. So before we start, Wei Han, who do you think is going to be the fastest car tonight? The Ferrari, the Ford, or the Porsche? The question that we have all year long, basically.
I cannot exactly tell, although I'm aware that this circuit, the Daytona circuit, can draw some parallels to the Circuit de la South at Le Mans last week that we've gone to. Of course, drivers now coming through the final, this banked section here in NASCAR, it's called turns 3 and 4, over I believe turns 11 and 12. So Lopez de Oliveira, he will command the grid when the pace car begins to turn in. It will be up to him to start the race as the green flag flies. So as camera view, fantastic camera view we have here, safety car should be turning into the pit lane rather soon at this point, as the safety car, the roof there, turns in. It'll be up to Leonardo Lopez here to start the race. Green flag flies. Lopez de Oliveira leads the field here. He currently slightly pulling up ahead of Mike Berda, and my camera view does not show me the cars behind there. So as they take the entry now to turn 1, Jamal Gunn doing P3 side by side. There's Jasun Jali and Ahmad Norazam. And we've also got Sam Patrick here. Sorry, 3 wide, almost 3 wide there as they entered turn 3. And this is a great start as they enter the infield section side by side. Jaswin Jali taking P5 from Sam Fitzpatrick, and this is going to be already a battle for P5 through this left-hander king here. Jali leading Fitzpatrick, and he leading the white Porsche.
There's a
crash. Contact there in the background,
or
in the foreground. This is going to be a few cars, 4 cars out involved in the incident. So we may have to have a look at a quick replay of that.
Yeah, they are still crashing there. Kandur, Fitzpatrick, Burdett, and Nurazam were all involved in that crash there at the Western Horseshoe. And this creates a huge gap between P1 and P2, because Putra was behind all these people and was able to survive. Let's see, I think that the crash happened between P2 and P3. Let's see, because they were neck and neck in the fast kink. Then I heard some tire locking up, so it might have been Kandur. Clearly a misjudgment by one of the 2 drivers. Either somebody broke too early or too late, but that doesn't explain why then Kandur was getting hit by everybody. So because he just used his opponent's car as a braking aid, but after that it was a huge pile-up as Alex Pohl is trying to pass teammate Reinforce on the inside, and then he has to wait. Good decision. So you see the lap times. Oliveira had clean track, but all the other guys behind it to check up to avoid that mess. And it's really a nice, well, not nice, it's a big traffic jam in the pits.
A bit of contact there in the background. I think the 2 drivers can't really tell who they are at this point, but it does seem to me that Lopez de Oliveira, his teammate Simon Sanchez, Green Macau Sim Racing Team for GT, come into a contact with another, I believe, a black car behind there. So not exactly the best start to 60 minutes of racing here at Daytona that we would have expected. But the drivers here that have survived incidents from lap 1, they seem to be carrying through this race well as they make their way out of the infield section and into the oval.
Exactly. So we see a big gap. Of course, Handur, Crow, and Fitzpatrick elected not to pit. Nurazam went into the pits. Burdett went into the pits, and you can get your faster pair in. So evidently, Handur, Fitzpatrick, and Crow decided that it was not enough damage to justify losing the time to an extra pit stop, because you can get a faster pair. This is important to remember. But of course, if you stop now, it's almost guaranteed you have to stop again, especially in a track where throttle is open so much of the time. And now Jaisir Jali defending from Putra. Yeah.
Battle for P3, Jolly leading Putra into turn 1. Of course, you can see both drivers taking slightly different lines as they enter the corner. Oh, a bit of incident there in the background. I think it was a car in P6 or P7 that lost it as they enter turn 1. Of course, turn 1 here at Daytona road course. It's a decreasing radius corner. You enter the corner at top speed, which also means that you have to point your car more precisely and not choose a line that will make your car lose balance. So that line is going to differ across different cars. Although Jali is still in P2 and he leads Putra, who's both in the same team, both in the same cars actually, both in the extremely loud Porsche 911 RSR GTEs.
Deceivingly easy first corner, but it's absolutely 100% toughest corner on the track, I think, to get right, especially when you are dealing with traffic in enduros. As sadly Mike Burdett has retired, as did Kevin Wang, so we lost 2 cars already in that first lap mess. And I don't know, I tell you what, I think that Jali and Putra might be better giving each other some slipstream to go and catch Oliveira, as Fitzpatrick puts a move on Handur, and he is up to P7 with this move at the bus stop. His Ferrari looks decently clean, as does Handur Ford, even though he's a bit slow coming out to the bus stop. And now Crow will try and take advantage of that. So Handur has lost, I think, risking losing 2 places in the space of a couple of corners, even though these 2 corners are like 2 kilometers apart from each other. But yeah, that's what happens. You get a bad exit out of the bus stop. So it's Fitzpatrick now, Crow and Handur 7th, 8th and 9th, and Fitzpatrick and Crow at their personal best this time around. So Jali and Putra, if they are going to run this close to each other, I was saying, they might as well do some good old oval racing, switch around every now and then and give each other some draft and try to close this gap to Leandro Lopez de Oliveira, even though Jali is pretty safe. And as we go with Sanchez going by Renfors, who I think made a little bit of a mistake there at the Western North Show, even though all drop weeks aside, bonus points aside, Jali looks to have the championship in the bag, but once again we will give you the official confirmation next week. I mean, Jali knows he's pretty safe in this P2 right now, so there's nothing to worry about, honestly. And Renfors is going to try to take his position back on the outside of the bus stop. A very difficult corner to make a move on the outside. And Sanchez is able to keep the position. But meantime, Fitzpatrick is trying to come back from his crash and is now closing in on these 2 guys here. So he has the pace, and maybe when he does his stop later in the race, he can fix his damage, if he has any, and maybe go even a bit faster.
Of course, the straight sections of this circuit, because you have the advantage of corners that are massively banked. I think all the way up to 31 degrees camber. Those big corners there. A bit of loose rear end of Simon Sanchez as he entered turns 1 and 2, I believe. Because those corners you want to be careful on your brake application, because you do not want to unsettle the car. Because he's coming under pressure. He's already been under pressure from Brian Renfors, as they have for the past couple of laps, I believe. So Simon sitting in P5, he seems to be pulling well ahead of Brian Renfors. A little bit of overshot there as they took this hairpin. Now it is up to Simon Sanchez to close the gap with the Coca-Cola Porsche of Paul Nelson. up there in P4. Leaving the infield section, of course, you want the best line, the best choice of line there as you exit to carry all the speed that you can as you enter this section. Of course, this section, this is a long near straight. I would call it the near straight. So it's imperative that you exit with the best amount of speed as you can. As Sam Fitzpatrick tries to get a move, tries to gun for a move for P6 along the inside of Brian Renfers, and he does that nicely as they make their way through the bus stop chicane. And it is P6 for Sam Fitzpatrick. Brian Renfers going down to P7, and it does not look to be that Brian will be on to make a comeback at this point.
Yeah. Good driving by Fitzpatrick. Now another position gained, and looking at the pictures that we have, this Ferrari looks to be in decent conditions. Doesn't seem to have too much damage. As Sanchez gets his best lap of the race, and now he's really pushing on Paul Nelson. He makes a little bit of a mistake. The Coca-Cola Porsche, they are side by side going through the International Horseshoe. Nelson doesn't give up, he still has the inside, they are extremely close. Fitzpatrick is overlooking the situation. Now through the fast kink.
That could have well been a side-by-side into the kink, but
yeah,
Simon cleaned that move off, and he takes P4. Oh, but I think that was Nelson trying to make a bit of a comeback, but doesn't seem to be so. Sam Fitzpatrick and P6 also eager to make a move, to have a go on either of the drivers as they now get the line, now try to get the best line along the exit of the infield, and now onto this big oval.
Let's be honest, side by side through the kink is not recommended. So so sorry for the technical difficulties. We should be back live from Daytona International Speedway.